All right, yesterday's testimony from Bruce Orr blew the lid off the deep state's attempt to cover up their rampant corruption. Now, thanks to Mr. Orr, Greg Jarrett's stellar reporting, and other important deep state investigations, we now can tell you the following. First, in 2016, ex-foreign spy Christopher Steele was being paid by both the Clinton campaign as op research for Fusion GPS with funneled money through a law firm, and he was being paid by the FBI. In fact, Steele was paid 11 times by your FBI in the lead up to the 2016 election. In other words, the Clinton campaign, the DNC, Christopher Steele, the FBI were all working on one team. Now we also know that Steele was fired by the FBI in November of 2016 for lying and leaking to the press. Third, we know the FBI then broke its own rules, their own protocol, and continued collecting evidence from Steele using the fourth highest ranking member of the Justice Department, Bruce Orr, as a back channel. And four, we know Bruce Orr had been in close contact with Christopher Steele, and Bruce Orr's wife, Nellie, she worked with Steele on the dirty Russian dossier that Hillary and company were paying for. The Orrs were literally making money producing the anti-Trump dossier, all while passing its contents onto the FBI, even after, of course, Christopher Steele was fired. And, of course, officially disclosing their blatant conflicts of interest, well, only to the FBI, but not where he worked at the Department of Justice. Fifth, Bruce Orr and the FBI knew that the contents of this dossier were unverified. And by the way, based on my sources, they even said Bruce Orr admitted it could be never used in a court of law, but it was used for FISA warrants. They also knew Christopher Steele was hell-bent, as we pointed out last night, on taking President Trump, candidate Trump, down. And Bruce Orr even documented that Steele was, quote, desperate that Donald Trump not get elected, was passionate about him not being president. And sixth, despite Steele's obvious bias and his lies in his dossier that was bought and paid for by Clinton, the DNC, and the FBI, well, the FBI still used the information as the basis for its Trump-Russia collusion investigation, and they used it to commit a fraud on the FISA courts in their applications, not one time, but 4 times, and they never disclosed the true nature of the evidence to federal judges and who paid for it. They lied to these judges. It is a crime to commit a fraud against a court and lie to a judge. It's the kind of abuse of power corruption, frankly, that goes on in banana republics. This is not supposed to happen ever in our constitutional republic in the United States of America. And believe it or not, Bruce Orr, although twice demoted, he's still working for the DOJ. Jeff Sessions, you're in charge. Where are you? And today the president tweeted this out, quote, how the hell is Bruce Orr still employed at the Justice Department? Disgraceful witch hunt. He's right. Now, Congressman Jordan of Ohio also weighed in earlier tonight. Let's take a look.
Why did Glenn Simpson and Christopher Steele pick Bruce Orr in the first place? Why'd they select his wife to come work for Fusion? They had a direct access. Chris Steele had direct access to the FBI. He was handing them parts of the dossier. Why did they also want to run it through Bruce Orr at the Justice Department?
Good question.
It seems to me to create weight and credibility behind a document that was completely false. If you can now go tell the press and tell other people, oh, a senior Department of Justice official is also talking about the dossier and also passing it on to the FBI, it gives it weight when, in fact, it was completely a uncredible, unverified document and a bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
There are some people in Washington that get it. Now, of course, the Orr-Steele texts, they now make perfect sense. Remember, Christopher Steele often expressed concern to Bruce Orr. He didn't want to be exposed. He was hoping those firewalls held. Now we know it. And by the way, it should rock every single American. Forget your politics to their core. And meanwhile, Robert Mueller, he couldn't care less about the real corruption and collusion that we just showed you. And by the way, Bruce Orr and Christopher Steele were trying to funnel what he knew were lies to Robert Mueller. Instead, they're focused now on, let's see, taxi cab medallions, loan applications, tax returns from years gone by, and lying to investigators. And we have an update on that. It's just pathetic. And tonight, John Solomon out with a breaking news report. It raises serious concerns about one facet of Mueller's witch hunt. And according to Solomon, who will join us, Mueller's case against one-time Trump campaign aide George Papadopoulos is probably completely bogus. The special counsel has been claiming they want this kid to spend 6 months in jail. saying Papadopoulos lied about the sinister details surrounding a meeting with a European professor that he knew. They claim Papadopoulos was looking for information on Hillary's hacked emails. But according to Solomon's report, well, the professor that they reached out to that also wrote them and confirmed what he said to the FBI said, quote, repeatedly insisted that his contacts with George Papadopoulos were innocuous. And Solomon writes, quote, he went out of his way to tell the FBI there was no talk of sinister cybersecurity intentions such as a plot to hack Hillary Clinton's emails. As we have previously reported, Papadopoulos is considering withdrawing his guilty plea. We did reach out to Papadopoulos, the FBI, the special counsel, and of course we don't get comments, although I think George Papadopoulos' wife is right. Solomon will have a full report, a damning new report tonight. All right, but first, we're 69 days away from what I'm telling you is the most important midterm election in our lifetime. Look at the side of your screen. We have long warned you what the Democrats will do if they regain power. It is a scary picture, and this is especially true for two states. One, California, which has now become so liberal, it's pretty much now almost a one-party socialist state. And former San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom, who wants to be president one day, looks so poised to become the next governor. This is a disaster for the people of California that pay a state income tax of 13.5%. Now, if Newsom wins, voters are going to get a supersized helping of radical left-wing agenda, including, of course, Medicare for all. And under Gavin Newsom's statewide single-payer health care system, the state, they're not only going to cover the citizens of California, no, they're going to cover all of the state's nearly 3 million illegal immigrants. A lot of people's health care to pay for free. Take a look.
Plan to get single-payer passed.
It needs to be pulled into the governor's office. The executive needs to lead it. Obamacare would not have happened. It was just exclusively a legislative fiat. That said, Nancy Pelosi did a magical job of organizing it, but it required the concerted contributions of the President of the United States. I'm not naive about it. I did universal health care when I was mayor, fully implemented, regardless of pre-existing condition, ability to pay, and regardless of your immigration status. San Francisco is the only universal health care plan for all undocumented residents in America. I'm very proud of that. And we proved it can be done without bankrupting the city. I'd like to see that we can.
Now, by some estimates, that radical plan, it could cost taxpayers, get this, over $400 billion, including tens of millions of dollars for the sanctuary state's massive influx of illegal immigrants. It means, on average, each Californian would be on the hook for at least $10,000 in new taxes each year, and that's assuming the 13.5% income tax stays where it is. And meanwhile, in Florida, we now have a race between Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis, he'll join us in a few minutes, and the Democratic Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum. Gillum, a far-left candidate, was endorsed by the socialist Bernie Sanders. He's ready and willing to implement his extreme agenda to every corner of the great state of Florida, the Sunshine State. Now, his platform includes abolishing ICE, supporting sanctuary cities, raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, a steep corporate tax increase, maybe as high as 40%, universal health care for all, increased gun restrictions, increased funding for Planned Parenthood. If you live in Florida, take note. This man is ready to raise your taxes through the roof and literally restrict your Second Amendment rights, punish small and large businesses around every turn in pursuit of what is now the Democratic Party, this socialist mythical utopia. Now, sadly, moderate Democrats are a thing of the past. They were driven out a long time ago. Ask Joe Lieberman. This is now the party of Nancy Pelosi and Chucky Schumer and Maxine Waters and Bernie Sanders. It is a far-left, unapologetic socialist party. They want your crumbs back. They want open borders. And they want, most of all, to impeach the president and keep Obamacare. But tonight, the only group hoping for Trump's impeachment more than the Democrats might actually be the corrupt, destroy Trump, so-called mainstream media. Yesterday, we called out CNN for standing by what is a faulty story about the 2016 Trump Tower meeting. Now, remember the breathless reporting from fake news CNN. It's all not true. Back in July. Take a look.
We have a Cuomo primetime exclusive tonight, a claim that goes to the truth of what the president knew and when he knew about an event that is central to the special counsel's Russia investigation.
Tonight, sources with knowledge tell myself and Carl that Michael Cohen claims that then candidate Donald Trump knew in advance about the June 2016 meeting in Trump Tower in which Russians were expected to offer his campaign dirt on Hillary Clinton.
It's very, very significant because the president has denied any foreknowledge of this event, and this meeting goes to the question of intent to collude.
You've been saying for a year that we need to follow the money, follow the lies, and figure out this cover-up. So how did you do it in this case? Talk to us about how you got this reporting.
Well, I talked to sources.
All right, we now know that a source for that report, the main source, was Michael Cohen's attorney, our old friend Lanny Davis, who backpedaled and reversed his story, making all the reporting that you just saw fake news at its worst. And it's just the latest in what is a long list of shady anti-Trump reporting from CNN, the S-hole network, the Stormy network, the impeach network, the Russia network. And still, CNN, they just remain defiant, even taking a shot at the president on Twitter. Oh, so much for objectivity. Make no mistake, they try to lecture the president. CNN does not lie. Really? We report the news. We report it when people in power tell lies. CNN stands by our own reporting and our reporters. There may be many fools in this story, but Carl Bernstein is not one of them. Yeah, actually, he is. And CNN wonders why crowds of Americans have singled them out. CNN sucks. They say it, they chant it, they scream it, and the network still can't even admit when they get something wrong. And by the way, they think this about the network. If I had all night, I could play all the different montages, but we've got other news to cover today. But despite CNN's long history of abusively biased, flawed reporting, the 2016 Trump Tower story was literally cheerfully picked up, repackaged by every news network back in July, except most of them at least admitted they were wrong. According to Newsbusters, while ABC, CBS, NBC, they spent 39 minutes hyping that CNN story. As of last night, they completely ignored the Lanny Davis reversal on air. And while fake news CNN and others almost exclusively push aggressive anti-Trump coverage, we're going to show you the full picture, which includes an economy that is literally breaking records. Remember, they were the Clinton News Network. They loved Obama. They hated Bush. Now they really hate Trump. So today we learned that the second quarter GDP growth, which we were really happy about, well, it actually was revised upward to 4.2%. And we can now report that American job satisfaction is now ranking the highest it has been since 2005. Add to that yesterday's consumer confidence number, currently at an 18-year high. Plus more jobs than people that are on unemployment, a record-setting stock market, historic low levels of unemployment in 14 states, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, women in the workplace, youth unemployment, 51-year low, and so much more. Thankfully, because the forgotten men and women in this country, they deserve it. The American economy is booming. That's what our upcoming elections in 69 days need to be about. That's what the media should be reporting. And the state of our country, by the way, is strong.